Initially it just started with a dull headache, and I didn't think that was part of the stroke or anything like that, even when it was severe later on in the day. But at the hospital I knew that it was definitely a stroke, even though they weren't sure after a CT scan and that. My tongue was still swollen, and I didn't have the strength in my left hand to hold anything compared to my right hand. So, yeah, that was the first symptoms I knew I definitely had a stroke.
The day that I had a stroke, actually, I was having my lunch, and after the lunch, and as usual, and I was a driver, and I drove, and my wife was sitting beside me. But after a short while, suddenly I felt a dizzy, a very hard, very big headache on my left hand side, and my vision all blackened at once. And then I felt a weaknesses on my left hand side, and then I could not control the steering wheel, and luckily I can stop it slowly on the roadside, and my wife took over the driving and drove me back home. Well, I did not know that I had a stroke, but I just felt that I had this happen again. Because about 4 weeks ago, I did have such experience, but after I've been resting for a couple of hours, it came over, and I didn't recognize that. I did not go to see the doctor because I always thought that I was healthy and I did not have any big problem on my body. And on the date of my stroke, it came again when I was taken to the hospital, and I knew that I was semi-conscious. But actually, I found out later from my wife that the people they have done the ECG and the CT, and also the blood and urine test, and also an chest X-ray, and then they found that I had a blood clot in my brain, on my right hand side brain, and then it affected my left hand side. And actually, I can tell you that at that time I was so scared because it was I found that I cannot control my limbs and I cannot move myself, and still I got a very serious headache, and I just think that, well, it should be come over very as soon as possible. But I felt that I was helpless and I could not do anything.
Yeah, on the day of my stroke I just didn't know it's gonna happen, I was gonna go out. I get to my van on the driveway, start up the van. It's raining heavily. I was going to go, but I keep on putting my shoes, my left hand side. My shoes can't go on my left leg. I keep trying, but still never go on. So I decide not to go out first until I put on my shoes. And then all I felt is like I'm going to pass out. I yell out, screaming, help me, I don't think anyone can hear that. My son was inside the house and my auntie too. Next door neighbor too. They're all inside because raining quite heavily. That's all I can remember. And then I think is my next door neighbor cousin come in to see him. They found how come raining this heavy. I still like next to the van, like I'm lying on the side of my van, pouring down in rains. They think I'm still fixing my van in the heavy rain. I think they come over to like try to get me up. They find that I'm not right, so they scream up for my auntie to ring the ambulance. That's all I can remember. And then they take me to the house, inside the house, wait for the ambulance to come.
What happened was that it was a Monday morning. I got up. It must have been about 10 o'clock in the morning. I left my bed and then I made my way to the garage. When I got into the garage, for some reason I just collapsed and I didn't know what it was. And then I thought I could get up again, thinking, don't know what's happened, and I couldn't get up. So I had to sort of think to myself, what's happened? So then because I couldn't get up, I had to make my way from there to the bedroom to get my son, to ask him to ring Peter, because I didn't know what had happened. I didn't know it was a stroke or anything. Not long after that, my son rang the ambulance. The ambulance was here within minutes. I couldn't remember anything until later on that night. The doctor had explained to me what had happened, that I'd had a stroke. So that's when, it hit me. I had a blood clot stroke, is what I had.
It happened to me on a Saturday, actually, a Saturday morning. It was early hours in the morning, it was 3 a.m, and I actually woke up numb, my right side. My whole right side was numb, and I didn't think anything. I just thought, I'd slept on one side and that was that. And I thought, okay, I just slept on one side. And so I was just lying there and I thought, okay, I'll wait for the feeling to come back as you do. And it didn't. And I went to roll on my left side and I felt that I tried to lift my arm and my leg up, but I couldn't. It was just totally numb and it felt heavy. About 30-40 minutes later, then the feeling came back. Then I got out of bed and I just walked around. I thought, okay, just making sure everything was all right. But just thinking, oh gosh, I just slept on my right side and that was that. Everything was all right after that, and I went back to sleep. That was the first time. The second time was that afternoon. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was sitting at my computer and I was just typing away, and then automatically my right leg and my left arm just dropped and my left foot turned, and I didn't know what was happening then. And I thought, oh my goodness, what's going on here? Anyway, as I tried to turn it back straight, my hand and my leg, it didn't. It just kept going left and it stayed there. And I thought, oh no, what's going on? That actually frightened me. At that time, I had some people around and they'd come over and ask me if I was okay. And I said, oh, look at my leg, look at my arm. It's turned that way, I can't turn it back. And they were saying, oh, don't be silly. And I said, no, I can't. I grabbed my right arm with my left hand and I picked it up and I just dropped. I just wanted to see if it would hold itself, but it didn't. It just dropped. And I knew then that something's up, but I still didn't know what. Anyway, 30 minutes later, the feeling came back. I just felt it in my foot this time, and I just felt the tingliness coming back, was able to move it. Then I stood up, just walked around a bit, and that was that. And then I went back into the conference and we just continued. So that was the second time. The third time was the Monday morning, and the same thing happened as to the Saturday morning. I woke up, I was at home on my own. I woke up numb, my right side again, my arm, the same thing. This time, I was really feeling nervous, like what's going on? Actually, I wasn't on my own. My husband was home with me. And I thought, oh no, what's going on here? This is something's not right. I still didn't know what. I didn't even think stroke. I didn't even think heart problem. I just thought something's not right. My husband looked at me and he said, oh my gosh, honey. And I said, what? And he said, your mouth, your right side of your face, it's drooped. And I looked in the mirror and that's when I saw it droop. And then things just came normal. and I had a shower, and then we went off to the conference again. And then when I went back to work through the day, I was on the phones and I was on my own. And just halfway through the day, I actually thought, I just stopped and thought, I'm speaking funny. But I felt like physically I was speaking okay, but my brain was telling me I'm not speaking properly. Now my work colleague, she said to me, she said, she said, sounds like, yeah, that's like a stroke symptom. So she did tell me that's like a stroke symptom. And I said to her, no, I never had a stroke. I haven't got heart problems. Anyway, I made an appointment, went to my doctor that afternoon, and he just examined me, asked me what happened. I told him, and then he gave me some cardio tablets and aspirin. So that was it. So I took the cardio tablets and just came home, and nothing happened that night. I was fine, no other events, no drooping in the face. Then the Wednesday morning, came back to work, and as I was walking upstairs, I felt all of a sudden headache, severe headache that I'd never had before, and prior to that I never suffered headaches. And I thought, probably just tired from the weekend, working the build up to the conference weekend. As I opened the door to the office, I just opened the door and my head just spun, and I literally felt it just spun, and I just thought, oh, and I just managed to grab the door, and I got this severe headache that I never felt before, and straight away I thought something's not right. So I went over to the reception area, just leant on the desk. I said to the lady, receptionist, I said, something's not right, I've got to get back to the doctors. So I made an appointment with my doctor, and I went back to the doctor at 10 o'clock, told him what happened again, and then he said to me, he said, I'm suspecting that you've had a mild stroke. And at that point I thought, no, I've got no heart problems, because that's what I thought a stroke was. I thought, no, I haven't. Like, no, it can't be a stroke. And he said, oh, I want you to get to the hospital now. And we give you a CT scan, and that was it. And then I went to the hospital. Yeah. The type of stroke I had was an ischemic stroke, and I understand it to be a blood clot that blocks the artery.
I was driving. This is when something funny happened to me, like I was sort of dizzy sort of thing, seeing, this is sort of seeing double vision, you know. I tried to move my hand, I couldn't even move it, and I said, I called out to my sister that was there. My sister said to me it might be a stroke because I couldn't move anything. I tried to say something, and I stood up, and then I fell down. So we went to the local hospital, and I had to be lifted into the car. And I had no feeling. I mean, I could feel people touching me, but I couldn't move, no control, you know. No speech, no nothing. So we got to the hospital, and the doctors and that had a look and explained it was a mild stroke, you know. But then they looked closely, and I couldn't do anything, and it's actually more than a mild stroke, you know, it's a real... At the same time, I'd lost my speech, and I couldn't explain anything. I just sort of nodded, shook my head, you know, yes or no, but I was really like a little baby, a vegetable, you know, from what I was about an hour earlier, fully fit.
When I got up, I had like the after effects of a headache, which is not unusual. It wasn't unusual at the time. So I just did my usual things for getting up. And it wasn't until I went to try and put my bras on that I found my left arm wouldn't work. I thought my mouth was gone crooked, and and I was aware of perhaps I was dribbling. After Ron came in and found I wasn't 100%, he rang the doctor. And the doctor told him to ring an ambulance to get me into hospital. And it was only then when I think the doctor had said it was a stroke, so that I was aware of it. But by that stage, I was everything seemed unreal. So it wasn't happening to me. But I didn't comprehend it.
Well, I remembered my speech was slurring. A lot of things go within my body. I just couldn't control it. It's foreign to me. So whether that's any good or not, it was foreign to me. It's strange. The hand, I was stroke all one side down. I couldn't move it, and I was limited to moving it. I couldn't move a thing, and it was frustrating to know that I couldn't move anything. And I've been a working man all my life, and to get frustrated with the stiff with the leg and the arm and that got me beaten.
I realised I had a stroke when I woke up and couldn't understand very much, couldn't talk, couldn't move my arms. I had the one hand, and it still goes, but it's there. It was pretty soon after that I realised I'd had a stroke proper.